Now, let's update the lobby. Boom! Everything was changed, which is pretty great. Now, let's start the game. We could make logic to disable the client's button, but if they want to leave, we won't force them to stay. And we loaded into our night map. Everything works. We're online and everything is great. Welcome back. Today, we'll be making some adjustments to the lobby creation process and enabling the host to update the lobby after it has been created. But first, let's address some overlooked issues and outright mistakes. Firstly, in the menu game mode, let's add a switch on map logic. This logic is currently only running on the menu map, but we also want it to run on the lobby map. To save time, I'll simply copy it from the menu controller and paste it into the game mode. We'll do the same for the post-logout event. Next, I want to fix an issue in the lobby creation. When a player logs in with their device ID, they won't have a nickname since it's typically taken from their Epic Games account. To work around this, we'll check if the nickname is empty and generate one if necessary. In a normal scenario, player profiles would be stored, but for this example, we want to pass something as a nickname when logging in with a device ID. If the nickname is not empty, we'll select the output from getPlayersNickname. Otherwise, we'll generate a player name using the session generator function in EIK. Let's also remove the ability to create a lobby with a player limit of 1. We'll remove the option for 1 player from the default settings and set the selected option to 2. Additionally, we'll change the default variable value of the player count to 2. Now, let's move on to creating more lobby setup options. As usual, I'll provide less voiceover for the UI, so if you're following along, simply do the same or something similar to what is shown in the video for UI design. For this option, we'll hardcode it as an example. We'll use the map selection value as a real example of how it can affect the map we launch for the game start. Rename combo boxes variables. We'll create a data table to store all the map options. But before that, let's create 2 maps that we can choose as game options. Duplicate the third-person map and name one session map day and the other session map night. Ignore the warning, but fix the redirectors to prevent any map-breaking issues. Now, we need to create our game session game mode. Make sure it of game mode class type, not game mode base. Name it BP_EE_game mode. EE stands for EIK example. It's common to use acronyms and game mode names for different aspects of the game, such as the login game mode, menu game mode, and the EIK example game mode for our matches. Don't forget to add this game mode to the night and day map. To adjust the lighting and make it more night-like, hold Ctrl plus Alt plus L and move mouse. Make lightning tone for your liking. Let's take print screens of the maps to use them as images for the lobby. Additionally, change the render text, although we won't see it from inside the game. I should have dragged it to the inner wall, but forgot to do it. Do same for the day map. Add both images to our texture folder in the UI and name them accordingly. Now, let's create a structure folder in the blueprint folder. Create our first structure. It's under blueprints. Name it S_maps. For the first variable, set the type as text and name it map name. For the second variable, name it map texture and set its type as texture 2D. Set it as soft object reference. And lastly, add last variable. Name it map travel string and you guessed it, set its type as string. Create new folder named Data Tables. Now we need to create data table based on our created structure. Go to Miscellaneous and select Data Table. Choose our S-map structure. Name it Maps Data Table. In Data Table, add 2 rows for our 2 maps. We can name rows to generic map 01 and map 02. For first map name, it's session map day. Use texture of same map, and for travel string, use map name, how it's named is level in our maps folder. Do same for second map. Now, let's populate our map selection options. We'll use the pre-construct event as it will fill the options in the editor as well. Since we have many variables, it's time to organize them into categories. Let's make it tidier. Name them as you wish. Also name button variables. To fill our map box with map selection options, we first need to retrieve the data table row names. Use our maps data table as the input. Next, we'll set up a for each loop for each entry in the data table. Drag from the array element output and add the get data table row node. This node will provide us with the structure of that entry in the data table. Set the maps data table and then use the break s_maps node. Now, get our map selection box and add an option. Use the map name as the option input. Drag from the array index output and check if it equals 0, meaning if it's the first entry. If it is the first entry, we'll set it as the selected option. From now on, I'll start naming things as the project grows. I might not voice them, but it will be a good reference for the things we've done. It will also help to find the right spot in the graph when zoomed out. For buttons, I went and copied the color of our button, and I will use that color for comments related to buttons. Let's add the onSelection change events for both of our combo boxes. Promote both of them to variables. Now, let's copy our data table loop from the construct event. Replace for each loop with break. Here, we want to update the maps image when the selected option changes. Drag from the map name and select equals, exactly, text. Convert the string to text. Since the map texture is a soft reference, meaning it's not loaded into memory, we need to load it. For that, use the async load asset node. As it gives an object, we need to cast it to a specific class. In our case, it's a texture 2D. Get the map image and look for the set brush from texture node. Drag the last pin all the way to the break pin on the loop node. Now, in the designer, it won't update automatically, but it will work in the game. You can open the map to test it. It works, but there is one issue. Closing and reopening it adds more options, and you lose what was previously set. To fix this, before the construct event, clear the map selection box options. Now, we have our game set up for map selection in the lobby creation, but there's still some work to do. Now we need to add our new setting to lobby creation. We had hard-coded map name. Let's drag that string to inputs and name it selected map. Add one more pin and name key value as game mode. Connect variables to lobby creation inputs. Now we move on to make our lobby widget show our lobby setup. Open our lobby widget. Duplicate button and name it Show Lobby Setup. In the lobby widget, we'll create a border to display the available setup for the game. For now, let's set the default text. We'll make these values variables so that we can change them to reflect what was selected in the lobby creation and later when we update the lobby. Name text variables. Add button on clicked event. Make the border a variable so that we can show or hide it. Get the lobby setup border and check if it is visible. Set the default state to collapsed. If it's not visible, we'll make it visible. If it is visible, we'll make it collapsed. Go to our widget and the modular button. Create a custom event named Update Button Text. Drag the Lobby Setup button and look for our Update Button text event. When the button is collapsed, name it Show Lobby Setup. When it's visible, name it Hide Lobby Setup. It works, but I noticed that I did not capitalize the letters. Now, let's make those texts reflect what we've set in the lobby creation. Add a new function and name it init lobby setup. Now, add the get current session info node. Break the return value. Here, we have the lobby settings we're currently in. Drag from the session settings and use the find node. For the key, use game mode. Break the EIK attributes. Get the lobby game mode text and set its text. Do the same for the lobby map text, but use the map key. Now, I forgot what key is for voice chat, so I'll go copy it from the lobby creation. For voice chat, we'll use a select node. Drag the bool from the EIK attributes, and for true, write enabled, and for false, write disabled. Now, let's add an image to our lobby setup. My lazy self just want to copy and use the same logic from the lobby creation. If we have the same blueprint code, why not just copy it, right? We lost our async load asset as it can't be used in functions. In functions, we need to use load asset blocking. Use the map string over the selected map variable, and it can be deleted. Replace the map image with the selected map image and delete the map image. It was a bit messy, but we didn't have to type every node all over again. On the for each loop completion, add a return node. Everything seems good. Let's see if it works. Add this function after the rest of the nodes in the onActivated event. Now, playing the lobby map in the editor will crash the editor. So don't do that and save everything. This is because we're not in a session and we're trying to get session info. Open the login map, and let's do this from the login. Set all non-default values to see if they change when we're in the lobby. It seems all the values are correctly set. Now, let's duplicate our init lobby setup function. Rename the first one to update lobby setup. We'll actually use this function whenever we want to update the text in the lobby for all clients. Rename the duplicated one to be our init lobby setup for host. This function will be used specifically for the host to initialize the lobby setup. First, let's add a box selection so the host can change the lobby settings. Create a combo box for the game mode setting. Add another for maps. Name them. For the checkbox, I will go and copy the checkbox from the lobby creation widget, as it has an increased size. The default one is too small. Create a button for updating the lobby. Add the onSelection changed event for both combo boxes and the onStateChecked event for the checkbox. Add an onClicked event for the button. Promote each input to a variable. On widget activation, we check if it's a server. If it's false, we simply update the lobby text box. If it's a server, we run a function to update the input boxes. Let's also set the visibility of the update button to collapsed for clients. Name the vertical box with the input boxes and make it a variable. Set it to be collapsed for clients. Name the vertical box with the lobby texts, make it a variable, and collapse it for the server/host. Move the visibility nodes in front of the update nodes and unpin them to prevent the lobby map from crashing the editor. Set 2 players and set the net mode to play as listen server. The client should only have the lobby text and no update button, while the host should have the update button and the selections. This is the intended behavior. Now, open the init lobby setup function. We need to make some modifications to it. Remove the set text node and drag in the game mode combo box variable. Look for the set selected option node and connect the find game mode value to it. For the voice attribute, remove the old logic and simply branch out the value. Drag the voice checkbox, and for true, set the check state to checked, and for false, set it to unchecked. For the map, we can also remove the logic for finding the map, as we just need to set the selected option. Get the data table row names, loop through them, and get the data table row from our map's data table. For each row, add an option to the map combo box with the name value. If the session's map value is equal to the found row's map name, branch out, and if it's true, set the texture for our map image. On loop completion, add the selected option as our map key value. Finally, add a return node. Now, when we click the Update button, we'll call the Update EIK session node. Make the session settings map. Add a key for each of our setup options: map, game mode, and voice chat. Don't forget to change the type to bool for the voice chat. Get the current session info and break the result. Currently, we don't have reflecting bools from the current session to connect to the update node. I have requested this for the next plugin update. For now, we'll work with what we have. And it's not a lot. The number open public connections node gives us the number of remaining slots, not the total lobby slot count. In the recorded video, there was no workaround, so I simply hard-coded the updated values for connections. In the next video, I will fix this with the proposed workaround from the plugin Discord community. In this video, we'll just hardcode the values to 4 and 0. Connect the voice chat bool. Add print statements for on success and on failure. I have no idea why I added the is server at the end of update EIK session. If anything, it should be in front of all the button logic, as only the server/host can update the EIK session. Get the game mode. Now we need an interface. I'll use the quick click on the interface event to open that interface. But if you don't have the game mode open, just go ahead and open the lobby game mode interface. Add a new function and name it LGM_update lobby state. Add an input for the voice chat boolean and 2 strings named map and game mode. Call this interface and connect the setup variables. Add the update lobby state interface to our menu game mode. Get all connected players and do for each loop. Now we need an interface for the controller. I'll use my trick again to open the widget manager interface. Since we're passing the same things, we can just copy the lobby interface function and paste it for the controller interface. Update the acronym to PCWM for the Player Controller Widget Manager. Here, I've created categories for our interface functions named Widget Push and Widget Update. Now, our road to updating the widget is not over yet, but first we need to create a custom event and set its replication to run on the owning client. Create a blueprint interface for the lobby widget, as we currently don't have one. Name it BPI_lobby widget. You can delete the new function and paste our game mode function in it if you still have it in the clipboard. If not, go to the menu game mode interface and copy it. Replace the acronym with LW for lobby widget. Add our created interface to the lobby widget. Add an interface event to the graph. Now, duplicate the update lobby setup function and name it pass update lobby setup. First of all, we could have just used the update lobby setup function. However, since the get current session info node used local cache to get the info, we need to pass the variables to update for clients. So delete the get current session info node. Drag in a string to the function start node and name it game mode as it sets the game mode text. Delete the map EIK attribute and add a string as an input. Name it map. Delete the voice chat EIK attribute and drag in the index to be an input. Name it voice chat. Also, where we look for the map image, set the compared string to map. Now, add our pass update lobby setup function to our interface event and connect the passing variables. Drag from array element and call our controller interface to update lobby. Connect all the variables. Now, each player controller receives the interface call. Here, we get our base UI widget, which only exists on the client. We get the menu stack, as that's where we pushed our lobby widget. We get the active widget, which is our lobby widget, and we call its interface to update the widget text. Make sure you calling right interface. This is why I'm using acronyms and names. Drag each input to the client event. Now, the interface event that came from the server will run the client event, which will run only for that client. Don't forget to connect all the variables. Play login map and in standalone mode. Let's test it. Use all non-default values to create the lobby. All looks set. So now reversing to default ones and clicking Update. The image got updated, so that's a good sign. Now, the second client has loaded, so let's see how it looks from the browser. Everything looks correct. Now, let's join the lobby. Everything is correct. Now, let's update again. Everything was updated for the client. Awesome. For the client, let's rename the button Close Lobby to Leave Lobby. Now, let's create a Game Start button. Duplicate the Close Lobby button. Also, add the Start Game button and set it to be collapsed for the client. Get the Update Lobby button, Start Game button, and Close Lobby button. Get the Update Lobby button, Start Game button, and Close Lobby button. After starting the game, we don't want the host to be able to press those buttons, so set there is enabled property to false. Update the text of the Start Game button to Starting. Now, we need to retrieve the data table rows from our Maps data table in order to get the map travel string. Add a for each loop with a break. Get the data table row for the Maps data table. Break the out row. Compare the map name with our selected map in the lobby. For that, you can use 3 equal signs. If it's true, set the selected map variable as the map travel string and break the loop. On completion, add the execute console command node. Append the command and write server travel followed by a space. Add a pin and connect our selected map, which is now a travel string. Before we test it, let's create our match controller so we can create our HUD, mostly so I can set game mode input on widget creation. Name it BP_EE_player controller, where EE stands for EIK example. Copy the menu controller widget creation and paste it into the EE player controller. Create a variable for the base UI widget. Get that variable and call the push HUD function. In the widgets, let's create a HUD folder for our HUD widgets. HUD widget needs to be of the activatable widget class. Name it AWB_player HUD. Add a progress bar just so we have something to see. Add an unactivated event. Get the player controller and set the input mode to game and UI. As we're launching this in standalone, we need the ability to close windows. Later, we'll create an escape menu, and after we implement EIK, we can start building some gameplay. Set our player HUD to be pushed to HUD stack. In our EE game mode, add our EE controller. I ran the test and I returned to set the default pawn as the third-person character as I did not set it first time. Also, in the lobby creation widget, we didn't set a default value for our game mode. So if you don't change the game mode in lobby creation, it starts as null. Set the default value to hardcore. Also, set the default value of the selected map variable as session map day. Now, we can test if everything works. I will create a default lobby with one client, which will make them the host. Then, I will join the lobby with another client. All the settings look correct. Now, let's update the lobby. Boom! Everything was changed, which is pretty great. Now, let's start the game. We could make logic to disable the client's button, but if they want to leave, we won't force them to stay. And we loaded into our night map. Everything works. We will make the escape menu at a later time. We're online and everything is great. The gameplay is up to you, but we'll see what I can come up with for the tutorial series. For now, it will still mostly be EIK plugin implementations. If you have any ideas or suggestions, leave a message or join the Batai Discord and find me there. See you in the next one, where we'll show the connected players in the lobby and make some fixes. Thanks for watching.